If you live in a shitty house in a shitty neighborhood, having an expensive car parked on your driveway makes you look stupid. Basically the title, I get confused when I see a brand new Corvette sitting in front of a rotting house. What does your car matter if you live in a shithole? Who are you trying to show off to? I'm not against buying nice cars to reward yourself, but hell, I'd much rather live in a decent, clean house and drive an average car. My whole point is, if you can afford a brand new Corvette, you can afford living in a place that doesn't look like an abandoned crack house. P.S. No, this isn't a one-time thing. I get how you can have someone over who drives a nice car, but I've seen this a lot. I don't know, I'm kinda new to the States and maybe this is how things work here, but it's weird to me. Edit. A lot of people are assuming I'm saying every single person does this. That is not what I'm saying. Yeah, I know there are exceptions. Relax. Edit 2. I don't know why a lot of people are assuming I'm talking about a big house when I say decent house. Big doesn't mean decent. You can have a big yet shitty house. Final edit. Guys, just because you agree with this it doesn't make it an unpopular opinion. Stop trying to be a smart ass. Skim through the other comments before you come to a conclusion. More than half the comments are about how people disagree, and I end up getting to see this topic from different perspectives after reading what they're saying. It's called being hood rich bro. Or a drug dealer. Car enthusiasts care more about their cars than their homes. This reminds me of the Kanye line in Blood on the Leaves 2000 bag with no cash in your purse. Yeah, I quit Meals on Wheels when I noticed everyone I was delivering to had a nicer car than me. I've seen a Bentley in front of a $40,000 house back in AL. The guy had lived in the house his whole life. It was just a cheap house, not rotting, and in the ghetto. No need on moving. Dude was retired, and single. Bruh, chill, that's just my rich Nigerian uncle bringing me my monthly $450 to help me get back on my feet. Joke's on you, I have a shit house and a shit car. How about me with my upper middle class home and two 10-plus-year-old cars in my giant oversized 3-car garage? Bonus, the Tahoe has over 200k on the odometer, peeling clear coat, and missing pieces of door trim. Just can't get myself to replace them because they just keep going. Seems silly to buy something new when all the issues are cosmetic rather than mechanical. I work with high school students and one of the icebreaker games I do with them is called Would You Rather. One of the questions is, would you rather have a mansion but a crappy car? Or a crappy house with a really nice car? Higher income school district kids 99% of the time say they want the nice house, while low income school district kids 99% of the time say they want the nice car. Just an observation I've made over the past few years. I have a shitty house and a shitty car. I live in a motel and drive a 92 Celica. I'm happy though. It's a mom and pop motel, the owners are nice as everything, they let me pay when my check comes. I'm on disability and diabetic. And a target for crime. I tell you what gets me. Seeing people at our town's laundromats unloading 5 baskets of laundry from a luxury car. If you can make payments of $400 or more a month, you can get a washer and dryer on credit from Sears. Yeah, those people are living in a poor area because they buy stuff like that. You can live in a car, but you can't drive a house. Welcome to every trailer park in the country. Seriously, different people have different priorities. Some people would rather have a nice car in a shit neighborhood rather than a decent car in a decent neighborhood. I do a lot of serving the poor at my church, and a lot of times I'll notice that the poor people who are coming to get food drive surprisingly nice cars. It's weird to me too. I'd rather have an old beater and a nice house than the reverse. I explain it like this: when you are young, the best thing that you have are your clothes, so you get the best you can for the image. Then when you get a car, that's your big ticket item, so you pimp that out as much as possible. Unfortunately, many people are never able to pay for or qualify for a home loan, but they can get a car of any price anywhere at a 23% interest rate loan for 6 years. And I also agree with some of the other comments about drug dealers. Most thugs never leave the hood no matter how much money they have. I have mixed feelings on it. On one hand, an expensive car is usually not a good financial investment. I know there are exceptions. And a house tends to be. On the other hand, houses can be expensive, and maybe a small/shitty house is all someone wants/needs. Lower property tax, smaller mortgage payments, smaller would be smaller utility bills in general, heating/cooling, although that might not be true for a shitty house with poor insulation. Smaller house equals less area to clean, etc. I'd say to each their own. If their passion/hobby is cars, maybe it's worth it to some. I personally want a cheap low-maintenance car and house, driving a used Toyota ATM. Garage rich is a thing. Lotta people live in a 100,000 house with 120,000 in cars parked in them. Look at every shitty trailer in the South and there will be a fully loaded Tahoe and fully loaded 4x4. But yes, I agree with you. What's the point of a bitchin' car if your house is shit? Nah. Personally, I've lived in apartments and houses in sketchy neighborhoods in the city my whole adult life. I like sketchy neighborhoods because they're more affordable, more interesting, and no one bothers you. If you want to openly smoke a joint on your porch, no one is going to care. I'm also somewhat of a car enthusiast and enjoy cool German cars. Seeing as how cars are a hobby to me and I couldn't really care less if my house isn't that desirable, having a nicer car than a living situation has kind of been my thing. If your car payment and insurance is greater than your rent/mortgage, you are doing it wrong. LOLPPL on Reddit. See things in extremes. It's either 0 or 100, straight up black and white with no middle ground. My best friend has been living in the same tiny little not great looking house for 40 years in a neighborhood that has gone downhill since he first moved there. He has no interest in leaving his home or the community he has roots in. The house is ugly and tiny and way outdated with the original beaded curtains hung in it in 1979, but it's sturdy, secure, and paid for. It turns out he likes nice cars a lot more than nice houses, but then he spends way more time in his cars than his house. His house is where he showers and sleeps. That's it. He doesn't even eat there except now on lockdown when he's living on milk and cereal and content to do it. I used to think it was weird, but now not so much. People value different things, I guess. There's still such thing as shitty neighborhoods. Sheesh, I felt like it's all gentrified now. Even in the crappy part of town it's $1,500/month for a one-bedroom. Maybe they're renting cheap to be able to afford the car that personally means more to them than a fancy house or neighborhood. I've noticed first or second generation immigrants are especially hung up on things like this and flaunting whatever their newfound status seems to be to others. When in actuality nobody gives a shit about your house or your car, well except up.